My honor to Andrea Moore Phillips. My take, my celebration of Andrea Moore. I have a very peculiar thing about dying and how you choose to remember people that you maybe loved, or how you choose to remember people that you knew. And most people don't have the gall to say the things that needs to be said when someone dies, and you want to honor their memory and honor their life, the life that they lived, and whatever little you know about them, or whatever little you had the opportunity to share. And if you so now want to share it with others, then, so it's one way to honor someone's memory. I'm unconventional about these things, just as I am about most everything. I really don't follow the rules in these things. But Andrea Moore was a classy woman. So all the things I'm about to say, she would not really approve. She would say, "Lux, Karen, you're too bad." But you can't do that now. So I'm just going to make it rip and fall wherever it chooses to. There is a thing called DEI. I mean, Republicans and Trump, them trying it out, and Kamala Harris. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nobody should ask me what that means. I do not know. But it is the new and woke moniker to describe a woman's right to be equal. That's my analysis of it. And because it is assumed that women, no matter how bright or qualified and competent they are, they need a modern moniker to kind of validate their potential to be anything that is considered to be something that they should not have, or should not be, or should not move towards, or should not aim for. So that is it. I am not a quote-unquote champion of women's rights. I have never believed in gender equity as some position for an already qualified and competent woman. I've never believed that there needs to be some moniker or some kind of description for a woman to have a seat at the table, seeing that for hundreds of years women have fought for a seat at the table. And I am more inclined to believe that there has been, and there have been, and there still is women who walk among us who own their own power and create their own world and make difference in society and in people's lives, pardon me, in whatever way they can. And I believe that Andrea Moore was one of those women. They set up these things about, women's rights and equity to please the new woke generation of women who needs to be validated by men, and to create new language to tell them that they are strong and they are worthy and they are deserving to have equality and diversity. So I therefore have no bona fides to talk about the subject of women's equality and DEI and feminism. I have never considered myself a part of that. That's a traditional thing, and I don't like that kind of tradition. I don't subscribe to that kind of tradition, because I, like Andrea Moore, blaze our own trail. But here's what I know to be absolutely true in honoring my comrade sister, Andrea Moore. Andrea Moore was the kind of person who gathered her optimism and her desire to serve, and without any limitations, she dared everyone and expressed an interest in a PMP seat that was never represented by a woman. and thought to be too high for her to reach. And this is how I want to remember her dignity and her class. She decided to say no to that stereotyping of her as a bright, qualified, empathetic, and kind human being, but who needs to get some kind of validation from the other world of men. She never ever saw herself as existing in that world. She wasn't loud about it. It's her quiet dignity and her class that made you know that this is how she is. And if you have been around Andrea Moore for more than 5 minutes, you would get it, that this was who she is. She don't need anything to validate her existence, and she never needed anything to tell her that she is who she was. Not at all. She understood that dressing and presentation of oneself was a key component in the power struggle, because she understood the power struggle. She looked classy and elegant always, never out of place, which is a superpower for women striving in a world that is of her own making. Andrea have never felt that she needed to conform to anything or to prove anything to anyone. When Andrea steps out, it was with her shoulders back, her head high, and an attitude that says, my world is my own. I create it, and I am not existing in any other world except the one that I create. That was the mood. And it seemed like a permanent mood when you're around her. If you spend 5 minutes around her, it was a permanent mood. She got up each day and she ate no for breakfast. She never take no. No is just not something that she accepted in terms of what she's doing and where she's going. Her smile was genuine and infectious and kind, but mostly it was telling of a spirit that was unbothered by anything that would seek to disturb her space or her peace of mind or her thought process. And if anyone attempted to disturb that peace of mind or to try to unnerve that thought process, she would do that smile. And it was a natural, sweet, and kind thing to say to you, I got this. I know who I am. And this is where I'm staying. She was a queen in every respect of the word. Never complained, never explained. How do I know all of this? I had a very short conversation with Andrea Moore over the span of 2 days. In snippets. Not a straight conversation. It was just in snippets. We started the conversation sitting down on that grave out by Dawn Cook Shop down in Manchinill, right across from the fishing village, drinking conch soup. And it ended, and the snippets of conversation continued up to Long Bay and Long Road and up by my cousin's place, and ended in Port Antonio at a meeting of strong PMP comrades in support of Andrea. She asked me to help her to make a louder no. And with our little crew, I got a little crew together, and we went out to Portland, and we began to help her to make that no louder. No, I'm not listening to you. No, I am my own woman. No, I've got this. No, I don't need any validation from you. No, no, no. And she did it with a smile. She built a mountain of goodwill in East Portland through her love for people and a deep desire to, yes, achieve something, because she thought that she would be a good member of parliament. Many of us thought that. And I would not have been out there for her if I never thought that. She would have been an excellent member of parliament. But mostly, She wanted to continue to serve in her own small way. And while she would voice this in a very, off way, but not so much in a conversation, you sense it. I observed her ticking off a list as soon as she had that promise in her car. So there was this book that as soon as that package in the car or that little thing in the car, she ticked that thing off the list. I observed her being in a hurry, but taking a seat to listen to someone. That is rare, very rare. And she did not do it because she needed the vote from this someone. She did it when he said, Miss Moore, me not have no vote in a PMP thing, because me no PMP, me no P. But more I have a talk with you about something. And she just sat there and listened to him. Somebody who can do absolutely nothing for her. And she was in a hurry. I'm telling you, she was. And she spent the time talking to him. Somebody who can do nothing for her. And that is the full 100% measure of a decent and kind person. She was unpretentious about most things. But she was very aware of the forces that were against her efforts. She knew why. She knew how the forces organized. She knew how the game is played. She knew all of that. She was unbothered by it. She contested the seat in East Portland against the late Comrade Dr. Bloomfield. And in that first contest, she won by a narrow margin. I remember that the margin was probably it's a single-digit margin. And immediately after she won, it was immediately dismissed by the powers that be, including the sitting representatives, councillors, and other leadership in the constituency. She smiled unfettered by it. She smiled, and when she smiled, her eyes tell you everything you need to know. She's not in any bad blood with nobody. She smiled, she talked to her supporters, and she allowed someone else with more feminist bona fides to speak loud on her behalf, and that was Maureen Webber. Webber was in charge of the process and to report the results of the process. But if you know Webber, she's not going to just do that. She'll add everything else to it and carry on. And she did. The party leadership, including the chairman at the time and the campaign director, responded with scant disregard for her work and her efforts and her undeniable win and her place in their world. They just dismissed it. One of them remarked that, well, if she only won by 6, Dr. Bloomfield will remain the candidate. Just like that. I think she won, and not the 6 number is not a hard and fast number, but it was a single-digit number by which she won. After hearing that, she never left. She didn't make no fuss. And her leadership in that ensured that the people who supported her never made any fuss either. None, not even a whisper. Because she just do it. She just did it and they just followed. She never left. She stayed and worked tirelessly to re-elect the man that she just beat in a fair process. A woman of class. That, ladies and gentlemen, is class. That is not any commitment to party. That is more of a respect for a process in which she was unfairly treated, but she went in it knowing that this was already an unfair process and this was already rigged against her. Not rigged in terms of bogus vote or anything like that, but rigged that even if she come out victorious, they may not have her receive it. They may not, they may not allow her to get it. She knew that. That was dignity. Not any put aside. That was not putting aside our grievances and carry on. That was class. And that was dignity. And that was leadership. That was a woman of substance. It had nothing to do with party or commitment to party. It was her classy way of leading, showing the people that class trumps power any day of the week. And I can't imagine in my head that there must have been 1 and 2 young people or women amongst her that probably learned something from that, because she quiet down everybody. She said, put them one side and quiet down everybody. Nobody had an opportunity to raise hell. Nobody. She knew she deserved better. She knew that. She knew that because she was confident in herself and her abilities. She knew that. She knew that she was, she and she in her space, and she in her power and her world that she created, that she studied hard for, that she fought for, that she struggled for. It's not just that anything in the politics, but it's about studying to become who she wanted to become and working hard to reach where she reached. So she knew she deserved better. So she was unfumbled by the ineptitude and the ungraciousness and the cruelty of our political leaders. Anyone's first impressions of Andrea Moore could easily be construed to be a slight air of arrogance. There's a little bit of that. There is. You don't become big lawyer without a little bit of that. Because she's bright and elegant and competent. And she's Comrade Charles Moore's daughter. She's Andrea Moore, Charles Moore's daughter. Dwight and Chris' sister. She knew who she is. She was confident in who she is. And she knew that running down after something that doesn't seem to want you is not her thing. She was going to try for it. But if you keep moving away from her, she's going to just scatter. But it wasn't just that. It was mostly her confidence and her respect for herself. It was mostly that. If you have spent 5 minutes, 10 minutes with Andrea Moore at any time in your life, if you're listening to this, her smile, her attitude, the way she decides to handle things, it was out of full confidence in herself and respect for herself. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. She was a strong woman because she had an effective voice. She wasn't loud, but if she started to speak, she commanded your attention. And she had an effective voice that carried respect and love with it. She worked and she built up more support in East Portland and goodwill among the people of East Portland. And upon the untimely death of Comrade Bloomfield, she stepped up her efforts to succeed him. And we were there, right there with her to help that effort. The effort to get her back off and to support the so-called rising black star that the PMP said them had, the great black hope. That effort was one that was cruel and short-sighted. And even those who had been supporting Andrea caved to the internal pressure of denying her the opportunity she worked so hard for. But because she wasn't playing that game, because she's her own woman in her own space, in her own world that she made, she wasn't going to go into anybody's world. and they didn't give her the opportunity. But without missing a beat, she effortlessly smiled. And she said, okay. Meetings were had. She was promised in good faith, that if she stepped down and allowed the chatterbox great Black Hope to go run, she would then receive the opening Senate position. She wasn't a talker in discussing things like that. Andrea wasn't the type of person to sit down and say to you, say, boy, me and them would sit down and talk, and this is what they would say. Not Andrea. But she clearly had some half expectations about it. And they promised her the Senate seat for her to give the great chatterbox Black Hope the seat. Portland, they told her that he's the future. I've always thought he has never been ready. I'm still not ready. Not ready for prime time. I doubt he'll ever be ready. Because those are the mistakes of political movements. When you take these young people and give them power and give them positions before them can even prove themselves, and start telling them that them special before them do anything special. Tell my grandson and the kids them that I raised, no special. We know only special because we love you. But we're not special otherwise. We have to do something to be special. But them tell him, Damian Crawford, that him special. So he deserve things. And people should just step aside and give him things. It never upset or irk Andrea. It upset me. But I did say what I had to say then. That campaign was a disaster. Absolute disaster. It was mostly a disaster because it was a by-election that became a national election because of who the candidate for the PMP was. That was the only reason it became a national election. With her, Andrea, and Mrs. Vaz, it wouldn't have generated the national excitement that it generated. And it probably would have resulted, the whole JLP would have still converged in East Portland, and the whole PMP would have still converged in East Portland, but it would have been a local by-election that would have not garnered any great interest of the national electorate, were it not for the candidate on the PMP side, because at that time most people really did not know about Mrs. Vaz. So everybody was in Portland. The JLP went into Portland bent on defeating him. And quite frankly, so was the PMP. Everybody was in Portland. And most of them was bent on defeating him too. There was just no escaping it. Who want to be leader and who don't want to be leader. They were hell-bent on defeating him. Me, I just do what I always do. Go look for some PMP people that nobody now look for and get them to come out, come vote. That's it. That's all. Let's go get some PMP people. Nobody now look for those who say them now go vote. Those who are wash and them can't left them washing, and you help them out them clothes and throw them in the car and get them go vote. That's all I did. And he certainly was defeated because it was a national campaign designed for his defeat. A seat that the PMP could very well have in its column today, had it been a local by-election between two prestigious women. It would have been a great campaign then. And there would have been hardly any PMP down there who want Andrea to lose. And the JLP would have concentrated its effort and just wanting their candidate to win as well. But this, that was a different thing. It was a different thing. And so he lost. And when he lost, they gave him back the Senate seat. That rule that the PMP used to have, where losers don't go into the Senate, them throw those things through the door, and You know, them throw them things through the door. So he got back him seat. He gonna make a mess of things on East Portland and then give him back the Senate. Instead of rewarding this woman who have invested so much in the people, not the hype, not the excitement. They gave him back the Senate seat. I am not mourning Andrea, and I'm not rehashing things that nobody don't want to hear, because I know no want to hear it. But I know I don't give two hoots if I damn want to hear. When I can listen or don't listen. It's neither here nor there with me. But this is my way of honoring my comrade sister, Andrea Moore Phillips. So I'm not mourning her. I'm not. I am feeling blessed to have had a few days in her short life, because most of the time that we were out in Portland, she wasn't with us, except those 2 days. Everything is written and destined to be, and they always come together at the time when they are supposed to come together. She was supposed to be up in some place outside of Port Antonio, up in that side. We were supposed to be coming through from Long Bay, Manchini, Long Bay, and doing the rounds with the people that we know and changing people's mind, which is what we do best. That's what we were supposed to. So when she turned up, it was meant to be. It was supposed to be. And that conversation, that snippet of conversation, is where I got to know her. It was enlightening. It was deep. It was touching. And on my way back to Kingston, I said to the crew in the car, Andrea Moore is a decent and nice woman. And they all agreed. I think somebody said, yeah, she's genuine. And the person who said that is not a politician, or somebody that travel up and down with you, I would give them something to do. Go and go talk to that man over there, because you're nice and sexy. Go talk to him, my delegate. That's what she does when she come with. And she said, yeah, she's genuine. So those were 2 special days, as the good Lord would have it. One was slightly rainy, and one was clear and bright. And we all can reflect and say, if we had known that these were the only 2 days that you would get to have a conversation, snippets of conversation with this gracious, elegant, classy, and competent woman, I would have made it count more. But I have no regrets, because I'm feeling blessed to have had those 2 days in her short life. She was a lady, a class act, a queen who ruled her own kingdom. We need more women like Andrea Moore. But I take comfort in the fact that she's now a guardian angel for some young girl in Jamaica. And the good Lord is lucky to have her back with him. Rest well, Andrea. Rest well, my comrade sister. I say to Dwight and Chris and Diane and Denise and Natalie, peace be unto you. More in whatever way you choose. Tony, her husband, you are the love of her life. You can cry if you want, but you should mostly be thankful for holding that position, for having been there, that other part that completed her life. I've only seen you guys, she and her husband, I've only seen them once together, I think. It's envious to see them together. It was envious. I mean, I didn't envy them, but it's an envious thing just to look at them together. So, this is how I honor my comrade sister. Thank you everyone for listening. God bless you all. Stay safe and keep the children safe.